Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 2 in the book of 3 John. This is season 26. Today's title is He the Boss of Me? I'm going to tell a great story in a little bit here. In 3 John, there are basically 3 categories of people. There's missionaries, and who are they? They're those who have gone out for the sake of the name. And in my experience, they're wonderful and attractive people. But you cannot be local friends with them because of the distance of them going out for the sake of the name. This also puts them at a unique financial position, and they're not getting support from the world, from the Gentiles. So verse 8 of 3 John says, therefore we ought to support people like these. So we ought to support people like these that have gone out, that their support comes from the church, which leads us to our second category of people that is in 3 John, which is missional people. So those are people in the local church physically, but whose hearts and whose effort and works and wallet goes outside of the church and into the pockets of the missionaries to support them. So this requires effort, says verse 5. Beloved, it is a faithful thing you do in all your efforts. And it requires work, it says. It also requires faithfulness. It requires love. It requires sending. And it requires support. So this is a very, very active participation of the congregation. Verse 6 says, who testified to your love before the church. You would do well to send them on their journey. So the church has a responsibility to send, and the missionaries have a responsibility to go out, and it's kind of a ham and egg thing where everybody does their job. So the missional people in the church are sending, they're supporting, they're loving, they're using their efforts, they're working. Behind the scenes, they're acknowledging authority, that this is the way the Lord has it. They're walking in truth. They're staying in the family of God. Well, in the story, there's a third character, and he's the anti-missionary. His name is Diotrephes, and there's this warning. He's a person who literally carries a warning on his forehead, and the author, John, is warning the church about him. Listen, and I have written, this is verse 9, I have written something to the church, so he's warning them, but Diotrephes, who likes to put himself first, so that's a bad thing, does not acknowledge our authority. We've got to talk about that. So if I come, I will bring up what he is doing. I will remind everybody of his badness, talking wicked nonsense. So he's rebellious with his mouth as well. And not content with that, he refuses to welcome the brothers. So he's refusing hospitality of the missionaries when we're supposed to be a missional people. And also, get this, he even goes a step further. He stops those who want to and puts them out of the church. So he has an eye for the missional people in the church who are supporting and sending the missionaries, and he's throwing them out of the church, which is just crazy. So he's like the anti-authority. He's disrupting the order. He's teaching bad things. He's using his authority in a bad way. So authority is a major unresolved problem in many bad churches. And authority is a major resolved issue in many good churches. And you sort of have to get the authority issue understood so you can get to the good stuff. All right, so here's my story for the day. So being a grandparent is about 99.5% love, fun, rainbows, and puppies. Got a 5-year-old grandchild, and one day he was doing something foolish, and I told him to stop, and he kept doing something foolish, and I told him to stop. So he leaves the area. He goes and finds his mother, and I could see this happening across the room, and he kind of nods towards me, and he asks his mother, is he the boss of me? So he asks it out loud. You gotta love this. And this is a question we all ask, but you just don't hear it out loud very much, and it's just beautiful because children are sort of without guile. And he was asking, what's the authority chain here, and who do I have to obey? Because this is more complex than I want it to be. Well, Diotrephes is a guy who gets that question wrong. He's gone rogue, and he's out of the authority chain. He leaves the discipline of the church authority, and we can see this because he has this wild tongue. He's speaking against the true disciples. John was an actual disciple. He also has wild actions, and throwing these people out of the church is a good example of that, and not supporting those in the church that rightly deserve the support of the church. And then he doesn't support those in the church who are supporting those in the church who rightly deserve support. And he's putting them out. So the charge today is let the people of God treat the sent of God in a manner worthy of God. So supporting missionaries specifically. Also, but on this is to let the people of God treat the deliberately not of God. This character here, Diophnes, is a good example of that, as they are not of God. So people not deserving of allegiance, of our heart and our attention and our wallet. So the problem with Diotrephes is that he comes with a warning label. Why? Well, he's a leader, he's a teacher, and he's not connected to the truth. And he's using his teaching power and leadership power for evil and sort of being the anti-church, anti-missionary. So the problem for him is that he kind of started like my grandchild. He asked the question, who's the boss of me? Rejected the correct answer, and then kind of has the fruit of all this. So teaching point for us today is in the church, don't be an anti-missionary. Don't get the authority thing wrong, and then all the subsequent things about teaching and action. But either be a missionary, be one sent out, which is fantastic. And if you're not a sent out one, then you are one who stays in, but works and has effort and is faithful and loving and is sending and supporting those who are sent out. Thanks for listening.